What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Today is December 19th of 2023, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the death of basketball player Eric Montross, passing away from cancer at the age of 52. Montross was diagnosed with cancer in March, and about 9 months later, has reportedly passed away from the disease. In this video, we're going to explain how the death of Eric Montross is a major numerical riddle connected to the LeBron James family. Back on December 9th, LeBron James won the Most Valuable Player award of the first ever NBA in-season tournament, won by the Lakers, with LeBron James as the MVP. One day after that, LeBron James's son, who shares his full name, LeBron Raymond James, played his first game for the University of Southern California. And we're also going to talk about how this is connected to Pope Francis, as the same day that we learned about Eric Montross's death, December 18th, we also got a big story out of the Vatican where the Pope says that he will allow priests to bless same-sex couples. So, in order to understand these numerical connections, it's important to have a firm grasp on the language of Gematria, the simple, ancient number lettering system, which puts a numeric value to each letter of the alphabet. This ordinal method can then be branched off into what we call the base 4 methods, which is what we'll be focusing on primarily in this video. Of course, we also have standard Gematria, which still uses the alphabetic order, but uses the number lettering system that was identical to Greek isopsephy, Hebrew Gematria. This cipher also connects to the Latin method, which uses the classical Latin alphabetic order. And when you compare this code to dates on the calendar, you find that something very, very strange is happening in this world. Now, when Eric Montross was drafted into the NBA, now granted, he may have had somewhat of a mediocre professional career, but saw a lot of success in college, where he helped lead the University of North Carolina Tar Heels to a championship in the year 93. Well, 93 days after Montross's birthday is Christmas. And on Christmas Day this year, the Boston Celtics, Eric Montross's first team, travels to Los Angeles to play the Lakers. And notice how in our code of Gematria, Celtics-Lakers has matching 137 and 214 Gematria with the full name Eric Scott Montross. The last name Montross also has matching Gematria with Christmas, the number 133. And indeed, we will see how his death is connected to this game on Christmas Day. Montross passed away on December 17th, the first day of Saturnalia. December 17th is also the birthday of Pope Francis, born on December 17th way back in the year 36. Now, Eric Montross's birthday is September 23rd. Back in 2015, September 23rd was the date that the Pope made his only visit to the White House to this day, where he visited with President Obama and the First Lady there. And again, the same day that we learned about Montross's death, we had this news about Pope Francis with gay couples. And notice how the phrase homosexual has matching 133 and 137 Gematria with Eric Montross's full name, as well as this game on Christmas. So this exhibits a strong connection between these events. So let's look a little closer at Montross's birthday, September 23rd, which is written as 923 or 23/9 on the calendar. This is very important because in Latin Gematria, which I consider to be the most significant method in this study, the name LeBron James sums to 923. On the date of this Christmas Day game, LeBron James will be 14,239 days old. Again, digits that represent Eric's birthday. The number 239 is a prime number divisible only by 1 and itself. The name Montross sums to 52 with the S exception of reduction gematria. And when he passed away on a date with numerology of 52, he was 52 years of age. LeBron James was 520 sidereal months on the date that Montross died. A sidereal month measures an orbit of the moon in relation to the stars, a little bit less than a lunar phase. And speaking of this, he also died exactly 52 sidereal months after Kobe Bryant, another former career Laker player, who passed away in a helicopter crash just before the COVID pandemic. Now, 52 is a number strongly connected to the Pope. In ordinal, Pope equals 52. In reduction, both White House and President equals 52. And again, the Pope visiting the White House to meet with the President on Eric Montross's birthday. Now, in regards to the number 52, the last date that Eric Montross was on an NBA roster was for the Toronto Raptors in 2002, and their last game was on May 2nd, or 5/2. Now, 5/2 is the 122nd day of the year, and this is another important number to Eric Montross, who was born on a date with primary numerology of 122 in the city of Indianapolis, Indiana, which has gematria of 122 as well. In high school, Montross went to Lawrence North High School, and he was a 7-footer. Well, another 7-footer who went to Lawrence North High School was Greg Oden, a big draft bust, but a man who was drafted into the league in the first round nonetheless. And notice how Greg Oden was born on January 22nd, the date written 122. In fact, his birthday is a span of 122 days after Eric Montross. And of course, Greg Oden wore number 52 for the team that drafted him. So a strong connection exhibited through the numbers, through two 7-footers who went to the same high school. 122 is also the value of Pope Francis. Now, another significant number to Pope Francis is 44. In Latin gematria, Pope Francis is 404, whereas Bishop of Rome, his title, sums to 440. 404, also the value of North Carolina, where Montross attended school. On the date that the Pope visited the White House in 2015, Eric Montross turned exactly 44 years old on that date. He has now passed away from cancer. And look at how cancer, chemo, and kill all sum to 44, a number we always see coded into stories of cancer. Eric would go on to die on the Pope's 87th birthday. In standard gematria, Eric Montross sums to 807, much like how the name James sums to 87 in reverse gematria. Now, the number 44 has matching 144 gematria with the date written 4/4, April 4th. And when you look at the Pope's age of 87 years, we find that this is also exactly 1,044 months. Well, on December 17th, the same date that Eric Montross died, a car slammed into President Biden's motorcade, forcing the Secret Service to scramble to protect him. And this happened in Wilmington, Delaware, where Joe Biden is from. Now, I bring this up because in standard gematria, the name Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., his full name, has gematria of 1,044. And Joe Biden's birthday falls exactly 44 weeks before Eric Montross. Remember, Biden was the vice president for Barack Obama, who was in office when the Pope visited the United States. Another interesting thing about all of this is that the Boston Celtics are currently 20-5. This was their record when news broke of Eric's death, 20-5. Well, notice how Pope equals 205 in Gematria. This 205 is also the ordinal value of both Wilmington, Delaware, and LeBron Raymond James. Notice how Wilmington and LeBron have perfect overlap in base Gematria. So the number 44 is 11 times 4, and this is another number connected to LeBron James, whose name sums to 114 in the alphabetic order. Eric Montross died a span of 114 days before the second Great American Solar Eclipse over the United States. We'll talk more about this in a little bit. But notice how LeBron James's son, who shares his name, LeBron James, was 1,001 weeks and 4 days old when Eric died, matching the 114 in ordinal. In fact, when Eric Montross was drafted by the Celtics in 1994, LeBron James was a span of exactly 114 months old. This is also 9 years and 6 months. And check out how in reverse Gematria, LeBron shares a 96 value with Lakers. It was the Boston Celtics who drafted Eric Montross. Boston Celtics has matching 48 Gematria with James. And if you measure from the birthday of Eric Montross to LeBron James, you get a span of 4,848 days. Something else that stood out about this is that in addition to this 4848, if you instead type in the Pope's birthday, we find that LeBron James was born just 2 weeks after the Pope turned 48 years old. And of course, here we are in the year 2023, a year with the 0 removed. This is the 48th prime number. So measuring between Montross and LeBron James's birthdays, you also get a span of 13 years and 99 days. Now, this is interesting because the number 13 sums to 99 in the alphabetic order. And LeBron James's son, Bronny, was born 13 days after Eric's birthday. Now, Montross has died 13 days before LeBron's birthday. LeBron's son, LeBron Raymond James Jr., has ordinal gematria of 233, which happens to be the 13th Fibonacci number. And on the date that Montross died, James Sr. was exactly 2,033 weeks old. So as I mentioned earlier, the last date that Eric Montross was on an NBA roster was May 2nd, or 5/2. On that date, not only was Montross 7 months and 9 days after his birthday, but he was also 11,179 days old. Then, he would go on to die a span of 7,900 days after that same date. In reduction, LeBron Raymond James sums to 79, a number we commonly see in stories of early demise. Also, this May 2nd date, like 52, that's also a span of 124 days after LeBron's birthday, and 52 sums to 124. But what about the reverse alphabetic order? We saw this earlier. LeBron Raymond James has matching 281 gematria with Wilmington, Delaware. Bronny James Jr. was born 281 days after LeBron Sr.'s birthday. Eric Montross was first diagnosed with cancer on the date leaving 281 days in the year. This is the date that his family first revealed his condition. Eric would then die 281 days before his birthday. Now, 281 is the 60th prime number, and in standard reduction or Pythagorean gematria, Eric Montross equals 60. So this Celtics-Lakers game coming up on the 25th, this falls on Christmas Day. And on Christmas, we celebrate the birthday of Jesus Christ, or God's Son. Now in Latin gematria, God's Son sums to 331, which is a really cool number because 331 has matching 1331 gematria with Jesus the Messiah. In the description below, you'll find a link to my post on the number 1331 and how this represents the Eclipse code. The second coming of Jesus is talked about in the book of Revelation, which is written by John of Patmos. And notice how Patmos has matching 331 gematria with second coming. Well, on Christmas Day, the Celtics-Lakers game, this falls exactly, well, before I get there, the 331st prime number is 2221, and the book of Revelation ends with verse 2221. Joe Biden's incident in Wilmington, Delaware, which equals 2221. Now, measuring from Christmas Day back to the first Great American Total Solar Eclipse, which creates an X over the United States. This has been a topic of almost all my videos all year, these two eclipses. Well, it was exactly 331 weeks from this first eclipse to the Christmas Day game between the Celtics and Lakers. And in the alphabetic order, Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers equals 331. Montross won a national title for the University of North Carolina, which equals 331. And in reverse, North Carolina Tar Heels also equals 331. Now, there's another significant form of gematria called Sumerian. All this is the basic alphabetic order multiplied by 6, the first perfect number, the number of man, and the number most closely associated with time. Well, notice how in Sumerian, all of these 331 values multiply up to 1986. On Christmas Day, Eric Montross would have been 19,086 days old. This Christmas Day game also falls exactly 380 lunar phases after Montross won the national championship for the Tar Heels. And this is also 1,603 weeks exactly. This is a really important measurement because 163 is the 38th prime number, which you have right here with weeks and moons. Christmas has double gematria of 38, and this is a significant number of death. The words killing, murder, RIP, all also summing to 38 in gematria. So let's talk a little bit more about these eclipses. The word eclipse has matching 69 gematria with eclipse of the sun or eclipse the sun. Pope Francis, the Bishop of Rome, is the first member of the Jesuit order to be the head of the Catholic Church. Notice how these all sum to 69. Well, earlier this year, Yale University, the headquarters of the Skull and Bones Secret Society, turned 322 years old here in the year 2023. Skull and Crossbones equals 223, and 322 is the number stamped on their emblem. Now, if you measure from this October 9th date, Yale's anniversary, Eric died exactly 69 days later. Furthermore, he also died 3 months and 22 days before the second eclipse. Again, the number right there on the emblem, 322. In Latin gematria, skull and crossbones equals 885. Montross died 8 years and 85 days after the Pope visited the White House. Now, the Pope is from Argentina, and at the exact halfway point of the two Great American Eclipses this year, or over the past few years, there was also an eclipse over Argentina in 2020 in December. And Pope Francis, of course, born in Argentina. As we see here, Buenos Aires. Now, when we talk about the eclipse code, the number 74 is always very important. In Latin gematria, total solar eclipse equals 704 and 74. Notice how the name Bronny has gematria of 74. And when he made his debut for USC last week, he was exactly 7,004 days old. This brings us to the gematria of Eric Scott Montross, whose name sums to 74 in the standard reduction method. His full name also has that 137 like total eclipse or eclipse, but look at how old Eric Montross would have been if he survived to see next year's eclipse. 19,191 days or 19,192 days. Well, in Latin, total solar eclipse equals 191 and eclipse equals 192. Also, the 192nd prime number is found in the Pope's lunar age with sidereal months, exactly 1163 on this date. So no doubt, the death of Eric Montross synced up with the two great American eclipses. Notice how Celtics, the team that drafted him, sums to 71. Montross was born in the year 71, dead on the 17th. When his cancer diagnosis was revealed earlier this year, it was on a date with 71 numerology. Now, I mentioned earlier how the Celtics are 20-5, right? Well, check this out. The Celtics have 3 games between now and Christmas. And it seems unlikely. They have 3 good teams on the road that they have to play against. But if they win those 3 games, they'll be looking for a 24-5 record against the Lakers on Christmas Day. And in the alphabetic order, the name Eric Scott Montross equals 245. So, you know, this doesn't mean it'll happen, but I do think there's a decent chance they'll win their next 3 games because they have to give you this riddle, right, to play into. Or I could be totally wrong. We'll see. But there's more numbers connected to the eclipse code here. Eclipses always occur 1, 5, or 6 lunar phases apart. And in Hebrew, the word used for eclipse, deficiency, sums to 156. Notice how the name Eric Montross has matching 156 gematria with Boston Celtics. Eclipse the sun, plane of the sun, and even the number 33 all sum to 156 in the alphabetic order. And of course, 33, the reduction value of eclipse. The name LeBron and James both sum to 33 in gematria. In fact, James also has that 156. The name Montross sums to the 156th prime number and also has matching gematria with 666, which is, of course, a very significant eclipse number. You can check the link in the post to see more about the 666 code with the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun. Finally, Montross died a span of 86 days after his last birthday. And his death occurred in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where the university is located. Chapel Hill equals 86 in ordinal. Montross was also drafted, his draft was a span of 86 days before his birthday. Eric Montross cancer equals 86. 86 is often slang used for removing or getting rid of something. Both human sacrifice and blood sacrifice having this 86 value. But if you didn't include the end date, we find that Montross died 85 days after his birthday. Always a significant number in stories of basketball, which equals 85 and 185. Also, in standard Gematria, is it Tar Heels? Tar Heels equals the 85th prime number. And once again, it was the Tar Heels that he led to a national championship in the year 93. And this is kind of a continuation of my last video, where we talked about the number 93 in relation to the death of Pedro Henrique, who was born in the year 93. And his death was synced up with the 93 World Trade Center bombing. So check that video out if you haven't already. Also, this video on Frank Wycheck, which I should have mentioned. I did mention it in my posts, but this is super connected to this video today because Frank Wycheck was born in Philadelphia, just like Kobe Bryant. And if you saw that video, I talked a lot about the Lakers and Kobe Bryant. Also Bob Saget, who also was born in Philadelphia, and also slipped and fell and hit his head, just like Frank Wycheck, leading to his death. So a lot of synchronicity unraveled from this past week, but the death of Eric Montross, no question. Another riddle connected to the new NBA tournament, and the debut of Bronny James, who will probably be in the NBA. Of course, he has a lot to live up to with his having his father's name, but it seems like he'll have a career there anyway. All right, everybody. That'll do it for this video. Whether you're watching live or archived, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, do all that good YouTube stuff. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya.